Hi, Dan Roman. Well, Wendy, it looks like it's about 10:01. We can go ahead and get things started.
All right. Well, good morning, Cleveland, Cozy GCP. We're excited to be here today. Hopefully everyone, if you had to travel to your office, made it safely in with this snowstorm. My name is Wendy Sergent. I'm with 1-888 Ohio Comp. We are a managed care organization based out of Cleveland, Ohio. I have with me today my colleague, Debbie O'Connell. Debbie, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself as well.
Hi, I'm Debbie. I've been with the MCO almost 10 years now, and we're happy to be here today. Hopefully we can provide you guys with some good tips on this crazy time that we're going through and working from home and commuting and all those wonderful things. So hopefully you enjoy the next 20 minutes. If you guys have any questions for us, please go ahead and use the chat box to put your questions out there, and Wendy and I will answer those as we go along, or definitely address them at the end.
Yes, absolutely. Feel free to ask questions. So let's go ahead and get started. One of the things we wanted to talk about today is obviously we're in a changing work environment with the current condition of our country, with the pandemic. Everything looks a little different. So our typical work environment where people are going into their office or maybe going into manufacturing setting just isn't exactly what we're used to. So with that changing work environment, what we'd like for you to think about is what are your policies and procedures, and are you still following those? So for example, as the MCO, we are responsible for the medical management of the workers' compensation process. So what is your current workers' comp policy? Have you thought about that and what that looks like with the changing work environment, with having people maybe working different shifts, perhaps working at home? Have you revisited that policy and have you updated that policy? Do you still have your injury reporting packets? What does your investigation look like? So as we move forward in the changing work environment, people are still getting injured, still getting hurt at work. So we want to make sure that you are following those proper procedures and those proper policies. So we want to make sure that you're looking at that information, that you are revisiting that. So again, if you have your injury packets, do you know what the process is? So if you have individuals who are working different shifts or perhaps working at home, the supervisor that would be on duty, that would be in charge of the accident investigation, do they know what to do? Do they know where the paperwork is at? Do your employees know who to report the injury to if someone is injured? And then also, if someone is injured, what is the process as far as seeking medical treatment? One of the things that we have seen during the pandemic is some of our providers have closed some of their locations temporarily. Their hours have changed. Perhaps people are needing to seek treatment in other locations that are not near your place of employment. So have you thought about what that looks like? So if you're normally utilizing an urgent care or an occupational health provider, have their hours changed? Are they still able to treat your employees? Do they have new procedures with COVID? Do you have to call ahead? So, checking in with those providers. So if you're partnering with Cleveland Clinic or Concentra or St. Vincent, have you checked in to make sure that you're still able to send your employees to those providers? One of the other things is telemedicine. So in some situations, if you do have an employee that is injured, instead of sending them to the urgent care, perhaps you can have them treated via telemedicine. Something new that the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation is offering and reimbursing for is telemedicine. So in the past, as an employer, you could not utilize that service and have that paid through the claim, but now the Bureau has made an exception. And if you do have an employee that is injured, they are able to seek medical treatment through telemedicine. So that is something that is also available. So maybe looking at that and revisiting that as an option. And then again, as things move forward and people continue to work and you're still having your workers' compensation and your injuries, are you still reaching out to your partners? Have you made contact with your managed care organization and your third party administrator? And what does that look like? Making sure that you're still checking in with those partners, that you're holding your claims reviews, and that you are still following those processes as well. And again, just being consistent. So whatever you were doing before, as far as your policy goes, that you are still following that policy today. So again, if someone is injured and they're required to report the injury within 24 hours, fill out the paperwork, an accident investigation is to take place, to definitely make sure that you are still following those policies and procedures. Another thing we want to bring to the attention of employers is the Bureau has made an exception this year, and they've introduced something called the telework manual class. And so what that does is that offers the employer the opportunity, if you do have employees that are working at home versus in the office, or in the normal work setting, you can check in with the Bureau to see if you qualify for the telework manual class. And that has been something that has saved several of our employers lots of money. So it may be something that would be worth checking in.
We're going to talk about resources. I think, especially during this period of time, our resources become even more important to us. So we just wanted to make sure that everyone is aware what's available to them. I always say you don't pay your BWC premiums just to get a bill every year, or how often you pay. So we want to make sure that you are aware that BWC is offering a ton of things online. Hopefully people are receiving the emails. I know they've been coming out in blasts. So there are tons of things that are offered online now, and you can really keep your staff educated in the loop on everything. We want to make sure, this is going to end, this corona here, hopefully sooner than later, but we do want to make sure that everyone's keeping up on all the requirements that they have going on for all their programs. So a good way to do that is, to keep up on the programs and make sure your training's up to date with your staff, is to use or take advantage of those BWC classes that are being offered currently. Should anyone need any information, any of those, please let Wendy or I know, and we can get you in the right direction. Another huge resource that I think is the safety councils. They are offering, if your local one does not have one, or the one you normally attend, your home one, there are plenty of them that are doing the webinars. And there's some really great speakers out there. I've participated in quite a few of these. So you guys can really gain a lot of useful information out of those safety councils. And again, most of them have prior presentations available that you can go out and grab or take a look at, or if you wanted information on any of them, again, Wendy and I can assist you with that, or get you in the right direction as far as contact information on the safety councils. Another obvious resource, at least to us, is going to be your MCO and TPA. Wendy just mentioned having those regular staffings with your partners. But again, this is a time to reevaluate, as she mentioned, some of your policies and procedures. So use your MCOs and your TPA. Your MCO, you don't pay that annual fee to like you do your TPA. But again, They are a partner of yours, so you should be leaning on them for any questions that you may have. They can definitely help you address any concerns or questions that you have in regards to current claims, or again, any prevention going forward. This is a good opportunity why we are at home, most of us working, to go ahead and kind of look at things and regroup, and maybe set up some new, safety protocol, et cetera. Another resource is going to be your local health department. I had a question come up the other day in regards to the percentage of employees that may have tested positive for corona, when they would actually have to close their doors because of the numbers. So that is something that the Bureau does not get involved in. They will if it's a workers' comp claim, but they don't get involved with the ratio as far as number of employees to closing the doors. So BWC did confirm that that information has to come from the health department. So again, you can use them as a resource, though. They have all the daily information on numbers. You can also use them for several other services. They, prior to this pandemic, they were anxiously trying to get into um, employers in their specific counties, trying to come in and talk to them about different subjects. So again, they are a great resource. They're at no cost to you guys directly. So I would say if you can use any of their services, they are very helpful. Obviously, they're probably pretty busy right now, but just keep that as, again, as a resource for future reference.
And Debbie, I'd
The
like to
last,
just add real quick that in some of
yeah,
the health departments at the local county level, some of the overflow COVID testing, they're actually going to the local health department. So you may find yourself in a situation as an employer where you may have an employee with, with potentially COVID that could be contracted through the workplace. Perhaps it's a healthcare setting or safety forces. And what we're starting to see is some of those individuals, when they're going to the urgent care presenting at the ER, they are being directed to the health department. So you do want to make sure that you have a good relationship with that, because if you do find yourself in a situation where you have someone that is being sent to the health department to be tested, you want to make sure that you maintain communication with the health department. And you do have access to that information if they are alleging a claim. There's been some confusion with some of the health departments because they're not used to handling workers' compensation claims, that they are under the impression that it's not information they can release. But keep in mind that they should release it to you as the employer, and they should also release it to your MCO as well. So I just wanted to bring that out if anyone found themselves in that scenario.
yeah, that's good. Good information, Wendy. The last thing I wanted to touch on in the resource section is EAP services. So this is going to be the Employee Assistance Program. And we really have found that there's a need out there due to the stress of what's currently happening. I'm sure people have seen, this issue come up, but definitely EAP is something that most of you already have as part of your policy manual or your benefits program, et cetera. I would definitely reach out to them and find out what services are going to be available to your employees during this time. I think that there's definite benefit in having that available to them. And again, I've actually sat in on a safety council that had an EAP speak in regards to this subject, and it was something that not a lot of employers are offering or letting their staff know that it's available to them. So if you do have those services, and you can touch base with your EAP and ask what services you can use through what you already have with them, I think that's a great idea. Or if you are in need of, getting someone in or offering this to your employees, I can definitely pass along the information that I have on that. But I think that that would be a very useful tool right now. I think that, based on what we're seeing in the news and things, I think that this is going to be a long-term effect. So again, I think that's something that you can definitely, use those resources. I also just wanted to mention, I did see that the Bureau was offering some things as far as air quality for nursing homes. Wendy, was that correct? That I think we recently got that. So if any nursing homes or healthcare facilities, I believe that they were offering some air quality type of things to them. So if there are any employers that would be looking for those types of services, we can get you in touch with your BWC contact for sure.
Yes, and the Bureau is still offering for smaller companies the Better You, Better Ohio program, where it's essentially a wellness program. So you may want to check with that, especially in a time when most people are working from home. What wellness opportunities, if you're looking to start some sort of a wellness program, now would be a good time to look into that. There is money available through the Bureau specifically for smaller businesses. And again, if you would like any of that information, Debbie and I would be more than happy to assist with that. And then also with the EAP, relying on your local providers. Again, if you have established a provider network, you're working with an occupational health facility for your workers' comp program, reaching out to those individuals at those medical facilities and helping you with any sort of additional medical services or counseling services that, employees may need is also a good resource and a good starting point as well. Okay, and again, business as usual during the pandemic. So even though our work environment looks a lot different than what it did back in January, February, we still need to make sure that we're following the same programs, the same policies that we had implemented before. So again, any of those trainings that you were doing previously to maintain your programs with the Bureau, you want to make sure that you continue on that path. The Bureau did forego a safety council, and with many of the rebates that have been given, the requirements for the programs. However, we're not sure what that's going to look like in July, but our expectation is that those things will go back hopefully to normal. So again, you just want to make sure that you're still following those same protocols and procedures. So if you were doing safety training before, forklift training, drug-free training, you really want to check in and make sure that those programs are still being followed. Any sort bloodborne pathogen training, really anything that you had on the books before. And Debbie, would you like to speak to the programs with the Bureau?
I was just going to mention real quick, the policy year for 2020 started July 1st, and will run through June 30th of next year. So as Wendy mentioned, the Bureau hasn't announced that they are going to, I don't even know what the right word is, Wendy, that they did. They basically kind of grandfathered, I guess, everyone in for the last time for 2019's policy year. So you're going to want to make sure that for 2020, like Wendy mentioned, make sure that you're still following whatever you need for ISSP and things like that, that you're going to have to do online. So that goes back to some of those resources of the courses that the BWC is offering. Make sure that you guys are still meeting those requirements, because you want to make sure that for 2020, they haven't said that what they're going to do yet. So you want to make sure that you still participate in doing what you need to.
And you want to make sure that any programs that you were previously enrolled in, again, if the Bureau does move forward with those programs, that you're checking in with your partners, your TPA specifically, and do you need to do anything to continue in the program? Do you need to reapply? If you're not in the program and you'd like to start the program, making sure that you don't miss those application dates. Typically those are in May. So again, just reaching out to those partners and looking at what your options are. You want to make sure that you stay on task for those things as well. And then as far as your safety committee, many employers have a safety committee that meets on a monthly basis, a team of various individuals, management, employees, supervisors that have typically met, established plans, goals, training to offer to other employees. is your safety committee, are they still intact? Are they still meeting? What are they working on? Can they meet via Zoom to make sure that you're ready to hit the ground running when everyone does get back to the office setting? Or for those that are still in the work environment and are not working from home, is that safety committee still up and running? Are they reaching out to the employees, not only at the work site, but if you do have employees that are working off site, are they remaining in communication with those individuals, and are they meeting their training requirements as well? We also want to touch on OSHA and PERP. We are rounding out the year here. So we're going to be looking at in January that the OSHA and PERP logs, you'll want to make sure that you've been tracking any injuries that have occurred, determine what's recordable, what's not recordable, and make sure that someone has been maintaining that log. And again, those things will be due at the beginning of the year. And Debbie, the specific date on that is, I believe is it February 15th?
Yeah, it's February.
So it is February. So you want to make sure that the person that was maintaining the log is still maintaining that, and that you've captured all of that data. We all know that things slip through the cracks, and everyone has had different things on their mind as of late. But if you have missed any of that information or you're not sure, you can always check in with your managed care organization. They have the ability to run a report and help you check the data to make sure that you have everything in place, or perhaps if you kind of that fell through the cracks for a couple months, that they're able to help determine what needs to go on that log. So we recommend that you reach out to those partners as well. And then as far as the true up goes, Debbie, would you like to touch on that?
Yeah, I just to make sure that you are following what you are supposed to be doing as far as doing your true up. This is going to be again where you're just reconciling your payroll numbers. So you're just wanting to make sure that you have whether you are over payroll or you're under payroll, you're going to want to make sure that you report that information to the Bureau. That is how they calculate your rates based on the industry manual classifications that you're listing. So you're going to want to make sure that your payroll is reported accurately. Make sure that you pay any balance that would be due. If you are due a credit, the Bureau will get you those monies back as long as you don't owe them anything. I believe I've heard also that they will apply part of that towards your next bill and then send you the remaining balance. I would suggest that you either check with your BWC representative, your ESS is what they call them, your employer service specialist, or the business consultant, or your TPA can assist you with any questions that you may have on the true up. But again, that is something that you want to make sure is done because the Bureau, should you not do that and you fall into a certain period of time, the BWC will remove you from any programs for that year and the following year. So it's very important that you make sure that you do that, or you're going to be opted out for any additional discount programs moving forward. So again, that is still an important part of the process. So make sure that you guys check with your TPA, like I said, or your Bureau rep to see if there's anything that needs to be done on your end.
And making sure that your payroll matches up. The Bureau did reduce every employer's payroll, I believe it was by 20%. So just make sure, checking in with the Bureau to make sure that your payroll numbers match up, whether you've had a decline in the payroll or maybe you have been busy. Maybe your industry has boomed the past 6 months and you've added payroll. You want to make sure that that matches up so that there's no surprise. Obviously, if you have more payroll, you could potentially owe a larger amount of money. So just checking in with the Bureau and verifying those numbers. You can do that either through the Bureau, you can do that through your TPA as well. And then again, just making sure that you're keeping up with your BWC premium payments, that you're aware of whatever option you selected. The Bureau did defer premium payments for several months when the pandemic started, but I believe we are back on track with that. So you may want to just make sure that if you pay the payroll or your accountant pays the premium, that everyone is aware of those dates and that those things are getting paid in a timely manner. And then again, just program deadlines. I think we kind of touched on that already, but just doing evaluation of what programs you were in, what programs you'd like to enroll in, and just making sure that you're not missing those dates. The ISSP program, the Transition Work Bonus program, drug-free, safety council, checking in with your partners to see what your best options are, what makes sense, and then making sure that you apply for those programs on time, and then that also that you're aware of what the guidelines are and that you meet those qualifications.
I think that was everything that we had, Wendy. I don't see any questions. I think on the next slide, Wendy has our contact information. We are about 10:25, so we're about rounding out our time here. I appreciate everyone joining us, and if you do have any questions, we'll be here around here for another couple minutes. You can post them in the chat, or if there was anything that you want more information on, feel free to let us know. But again, be sure and use the resources that you have available to you. And we hope everyone stays healthy and well during this period of time. And we look forward to their next meeting.
Okay, I think that's about everything. Again, we just want to thank everybody for joining us today. If you need anything following the presentation, do not hesitate to reach out. And again, we just can't stress enough, if you do need anything or have questions, feel free to reach out to either one of us, and we appreciate your time today.
Take care.